All right. All right. So, quick good evening to I see my guy incognito in the chat. Salute. So, I think one thing that's important for people to remember, especially for so-called passport bros, which really I'm an expat, so it's not the same. But when guys go overseas, you don't stop being an American. Okay, you still have to associate yourself with American taxes, the American tax code. You have to deal with your passport, all of that stuff. And then, of course, there's this mysterious thing called an absentee ballot, which means that you're going to vote. So if you're not, you don't cut yourself off from political interest just because you decide to go overseas. That said, I want to talk a little bit about a stream that Roland Martin did about 2 weeks ago. And I would say that it's a little bit concerning because, well, I mean, we understand the stats on black boys. As a matter of fact, I'll begin this video by what's up, J Rizzle or R Jizzle. So I want to start this video with an article because I think it's really important to understand the baseline of where we actually are, because it in this short attention span era that we're in, it's very easy to forget the baseline thing that is actually the case in terms of where we are, right? So this is one particular article, HBCUs at a crossroads addressing the decline in black male enrollment. Black men account for only 26% of students at historically black colleges, down from 38% in 1976. So in basically since the duration of my lifetime, you've seen a 12% drop in black men enrolled in universities that were essentially created for black people, and in our case, black men as well. More non-black students offset these declines, but reduced the presence in black men overall means fewer are benefiting. So it's very interesting to see that right from the jump, we can tell that there's we don't have to go through too many stats to understand this. Black enrollment in terms of getting college degrees is, I mean, that's 3 to 1. For every one black man getting a degree, there are 3 black women getting a degree, which, I mean, okay, fine. If there's a disparity, that's fine. But there's an issue with the way that problem is framed. So we're going to listen to our favorite guy, Roland Martin, before we, you're going to enjoy that. We're going to listen to some Roland Martin because Roland Martin is basically making the case for why basically guys are leaving the Democratic Party. They don't have any answers. You can see the problem right in our face. And if you're not going to address it, then that just means that we're not politically aligned. So I want to make sure you get oh Lord, you're going to see the 2 gentlemen that he's having this dialogue with, but he's going to go straight to a certain point. So, okay.
The lead, right. the first paragraph.
Okay, so first I want to get a check on the audio. Did you guys hear that? Can I get a 1 if you hear the audio? Anyone? Type of 1 if you got audio. Type of 2 if you can't hear the audio. I'll give it another.
Black men today face a unique reality that warrants consideration under nearly any relevant index for measuring the quality of American life. How far we...
Okay, are you guys hearing that? Can you hear that? If I can get 1, or just okay, fantastic. Got a 1. Okay, so he's going to start here by just saying, this is textbook whataboutism. I want you to hear right from the beginning because it is basically, hey, what's up, ninja person? I wish you guys didn't have class at 2:30 in the morning so I could sleep, but hey, salute. All right, here we go.
The first paragraph said, Black men today face a unique reality that warrants consideration under nearly any relevant index for measuring the quality of American life, how far we get in school, our finances when compared with those of our white counterparts, and how long we will live. Black men consistently rank last or near last. There is not a black man alive in this country right now who has ever seen black male unemployment equal to or less than that of his white counterparts. But it also applies to black women. So if I go through here and talk about that, That applies to black women. When he was talking about Congress not moving forward on the George Floyd Police and Justice Act, absolutely agree with that. But it also applies to black women. Then when he was talking about the issue of voting rights, the issue of starting businesses, that also applies to black women. And then if I keep going on,
There we go. Okay, sorry guys. So if you look at this particular from Statista, you can see. Okay, I should have audio now. I think you can see that the number of black men, or the number of students at. Oh, I got audio. I think still no audio. Okay. All right, hold on. All righty. Let's do this. All right. Let's see. If I come back to my screen here. Still no audio, huh? Oh boy, Playing around with it. All right, let's check properties. Here. Okay. All right, we're good. All right. So I want you to take a look at the stats for people at HBCUs. If it's gotten to this level to where it's, I mean, you're seeing 2-to-1 parity in that number dipping below 100,000 black or students at HBCUs. That just essentially means that for every 3 students at an HBCU, 2 of them are women. And actually, it's worse than that. It's for every 4 students, 3 of them are women. And so in that environment, and this is Georgetown, they have the same HBCUs report lowest black male enrollment in 50 years. It's not one place reporting. This is from Georgetown University. This is the wrong one. This is from Statista. It's pretty clear that for black men, in terms of pursuing higher education, there is a growing disparity, but the narrative remains the same, and that's the issue. So I'll let you hear Roland Martin. What about? The whataboutism is on display. All right. I will get better at streaming. Okay, here we go.
And again, talking about this here, and there were some things he said. Student loan repayment is a worthy cause to champion, especially in a tough economy. But what relevance does that have when black male enrollment on the college campuses is dwindling? Okay, but whose fault is that? And we also have to address that. And the reality is, you can't. If I'm going to hold a politician accountable for student loan, I got to realize college is the end of a process. So then it's high school, then it's middle school, then it's elementary school. So then have to deal with that. And then if I keep going on, and like I've heard a lot about, there needs to be a very specific agenda to black men. Okay, so I'll ask the two of you, what is that?
Now, notice this is a man who is certainly going to come to black men and petition black men to vote for his party, for the Democratic Party. That's fine. He's fine to do that. But he can't be contentious when the question is, okay, what do we want from this political process? And then say, then what about these people over here? Because that's essentially what you're going to see him do. And it's very unfortunate, the two guys that he got to push for that. I mean, I know he's not going to talk to Dr. Tiasan Johnson. I know that much. But the guys that he's talking to they're finding it very difficult to make a direct point about what black men specifically need. They could pull up a chart on Google. Every 3 out of 4 students in black colleges are not men, they're women. When these women graduate, who are they going to marry? That's enough of a point right there. But you're going to hear these guys struggle through making a point, and Roland is just going to be contentious.
What is the specific agenda to black men that is so drastically different than black women? What is it?
So I don't necessarily know if it's that drastically different, right? So again, black people in general, we have historical disenfranchisement with the political process. We understand that. Black men have our own specific set of nuances and kind of disengagement with the political process because folks feel like they haven't been heard. They haven't been.
No. But okay, so, hold on. If they haven't been heard, what do they want to be heard about? That's what I want to know.
Their experience.
And what is that?
Their experience needs to be validated. So, I mean, essentially their experience is, school to prison pipeline, right? Their experience is those specific things of being a male that allows gender-specific problems that necessarily sometimes get lost in the greater conversation.
Right. Like what?
Right. I mean, so school to prison pipeline is...
But here's the deal. If I pull the data right now, the suspension rates for black boys is on par with the suspension rates of black girls. So again, the only thing I'm asking is...
So if you pay attention to Dr. Tiasan Johnson, this is why it's really important to listen to black male scholars, is because the data that they parse is always in comparison, not to each other, but to black men to white men, or black boys to white boys, and black girls to white girls. And so if you look at the raw numbers, it's almost twice as many black boys getting suspended, depending on where you look. But the problem is you can't find the data because it's all parsed based on comparison of black boys to white boys as opposed to black boys to black girls. This is something that Dr. Tiasan laments on a regular basis. Why don't you just put the number on the paper? It is frustrating looking through paper after paper after paper, and it's all this parsing of percentage points as opposed to what is the raw number? Because if you tell people 100,000 boys are getting suspended and 30,000 girls are getting suspended, you can see the number, but you don't see that. You see 3.5 times more likely versus 2.5 times more likely. And so you can use this on par. But even if all of this is the case, why are 3 out of 4 college students not men? Because at the end of the day, the point of education is to make sure that kids can contribute to society, right? And if they are contributing to society, then the college numbers would reflect that, but clearly they don't. And still, in this system that has remained the way it has, as long as it has, you still have the same argument, well, if you want to do it, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But I'm going to get to that later. He's just being contentious.
When I hear the nuances of black men, what I want to know is, what's the nuance?
Well, economic opportunity. I would say that's one of them. Funding for education. Our education system is broken. Okay, let's stop right there. Okay, funding for education. If black boys going to school and the black girls going to school, they're under the same funding paradigm. No. I'm not talking college. I'm talking like elementary school, middle school, high school. So, school funding is not based upon gender. School funding is based upon enrollment. But I would also say representation is extremely important for young black males as well. Representation of what? Like teachers in the classroom. That's right. There needs to be more black teachers, more black male presence in the classroom. So here's what I'm trying to get at. I've had this conversation in so many different places, but what rarely happens are folks actually identifying the specific things that are different and they want addressed that then somebody can then address.
And this is why Roland Martin is quickly becoming just a dinosaur. He's not important. If he would be willing to go talk to people like Dr. Tizan Johnson, Dr. Ronald Neal, even to even just black male first activists or black people activists, then he would get a different answer. He is not looking for the answer. He's looking for an answer that fits his narrative. Because you don't have to Google very much. Now, you know what? I'm going to show you again. You don't have to Google very much to see how bad it is. I mean, you cannot look at this chart and start asking questions about, okay, guys, why would we do something to help black boys or black men specifically when you see that twice as many of the students at HBCUs are women than men? Unless, of course, you want to preserve the status quo, which is, it's his prerogative to do that, but don't lament guys who have been through this process specifically. Oh, goodness gracious. Look at Dr. Tizan Johnson. Salute. Dr. Tizan Johnson, I would really hope that you could pick this up and run with it. I will put the link because it's first of all, it's infuriating, but it's disingenuous to see these kinds of numbers and have someone in an election year arguing against a program specific for black boys when you can already see that what black men account for 26% of the students at HBCUs, down from 38%. You have a 12% drop in the last 50-year period. And you're arguing for more of the status quo. Decline enrollment of black students at HBCUs is below the 1976 level. The share of non-black students is equal to the share of black male students. So there are more non-black students on HBCU campuses than black men on HBCU campuses. HBCUs enroll a higher percentage of lower income students. Okay, this decline of black male students is influenced by factors such as inadequate K-12 preparation, lack of black male teachers, financial barriers, things that we already know. We know all of these things. But if you're going to remain relevant, which is clearly what Roland Martin is fighting against, because he's not going to be relevant much longer, is people on the ground. And it's not just, some of us went to college here, so we understand we went to college, and on that college campus, if you're the guy that's, putting your books in your book sack and walking to class, and you got your polo shirt on and you're up at that 8 o'clock class with your coffee and you're ready to study, nothing about that is going to get those girls, or at least in our experience as black men, that does not get the black women on the campus to get excited. Now, if you pledge Omega and you put on spray paint your boots gold and you stomp and you have parties at the frat house, that's going to get you the attention. But we've seen on one side, if you're the square dude that put your head down and goes to campus, you're basically invisible if you're not, looking a certain way. And on the other side, you have boys that don't even have a chance to get there because the disparity in the education, if you're born of a single mom and your mom is not paying attention to your education and you're in a school that's underfunded and the teacher has a predisposition to not wanting to teach boys like you because you don't sit still, you're going to be at it's a losing proposition for you from the beginning. And I can speak to this on a personal account because I know of personal situations that I won't document directly where boys that moved around a lot got diagnosed as boys that have learning disabilities, and then they get put to the lower class and they get put on a track to not go to college. And it's time that, at least in this particular time, if you're going to advocate as someone for black votes, black people, you gotta advocate for black boys, black men going to college. You got to. With these kinds of disparities, you can't say, what about black women, when 3 out of every 4 graduates is a black woman in the black community, and you have more non-black people on HBCU campuses than black men.
That to me is where the struggle is. I think what we have to, because here's what we have to do. We have to actually push back when somebody throws it out to force them to be specific. So, for instance,
in this piece, and I've actually heard it. In this piece, the brother said there's a perception that the Democratic Party is a party of women. Because, I'm telling you, I've heard this. A lot of brothers are bothered by when they hear black girl magic. And I'm just, if we're going to do with perceptions, I've heard this. I've heard brothers say, all I'm seeing are women being appointed and being touted. And I then go, okay, so they've done 200 federal judges, 58 black, 37 black women, 21 black men. I then ask them, how many existing federal judges are black men compared to black women? They can't answer that question because there's way more black men. So then I had a brother say, well, I'm seeing all these sisters. Supreme Court Justice. I'm like, okay, Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's one sister. There've only been 3 black people, 2 of them black men.
Now, this is... one of the reasons why it's important to have good press is because press can call people out when they're making an argument that's not germane to his original argument. The original argument is not about how many black people are in the federal judiciary. It's not about how many people are in the Congressional Black Caucus. It's about what are black men specifically advocating for in this election cycle. That's it. And so he says, well, you got black women judges. You got more black men that are federal judges than you have black women. Okay, but that's not germane to the issue. You have more, or you have a Supreme Court justice that people are hearing hung about, but it doesn't matter. The court has 9 people and it's overwhelmingly stacked for the conservatives. So that's a moot point. The point is black men are looking for something to help to improve the issue that 1 out of every 4 college students that are black are women. And women are saying, and I found this in a TikTok, and I would show you the TikTok in the comments, but it just infuriates you. So I'm not going to do that. But it was just comment after comment after comment. Why are we supposed to pull them up? Why are we supposed to bootleg them? Why can't they be a man and do what's necessary? Okay, fine. Gotcha. But I'm sure that most of the guys in not just the chat, but I mean, salute to Theo, because we have these conversations in class. You get your way as a black man through a system where there are no specific scholarships for black men. There are no specific pathways where they're trying to boost black men. And you're looking around and you're just seeing minority, that's everything except black men specific. And then you get to the other side and then someone's saying, what about the black community? And the question is, when did the black community say, hey, listen, this is a boy with promise. Let's pave the pathway for him so that he can come back? And because that's exactly what happens in other communities. And I've seen it. Anyone that's lived overseas can see it. The reason why so many people in other communities are so fiercely loyal to their communities is because when they are in a position where they need help and they're looking up, there's someone in that community that looks down and says, hey, you know what? This boy has promise. Let's invest in this boy, get him in this school, this coach, this, learning situation. And then when he gets to a certain plateau, he looks back on the system. And the system, he says, I want to make sure that the next boy that is me has a chance to come up like I did. We don't have that system. And so now what we basically have is, if you don't find a way to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, you failed as a man. But when you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, then you're supposed to give something back. Back to what? You can see the contention. Roland is not willing to accept the fact that there are young boys that have promise that are in an unfortunate situation, and they get into a situation where they lose all the way around in terms of what they're looking for in the scholastic process, the behavioral things that have been decided for them, all those things that Dr. Tiasan Johnson can speak to much better than I can. And if that kid finds a way to get through all of that, and then looks at a Latino girl who says, I think that you're cool, you're smart, and I think that you have promise, would you like to be my boyfriend? Then he's a traitor. He's hypocritical when that system of black people, where 3 out of every 4 college students are women, said, no. If you're a man, you got to pull yourself by your own bootstraps. And guys aren't trying to hear it. That's why Roland Martin is becoming politically irrelevant. because the best representations of black masculinity he could find to push back against his argument are these two gentlemen, and they're not doing a very good job.
There are 4 United States senators right now who are black, 1 black woman, LaFonza Butler, who leaves in January, and 3 black men. I then say, okay, there are more black male members of the U.S. House than black women.
Oh my gosh, this is such an infuriating argument. Oh my goodness. We're talking about numbers on the order of 3 or 4 more, if that. If you look at the Congressional Black Caucus, I want you to see the membership. It's 60 people. You're talking about 60 people, 4 across, and I think it's 15 down. Congressional Black Caucus, women 1, 2, 3. Rest in peace, Sheila Jackson Lee. So I won't count her. 3, 4 women, Representative Gwen Moore. 5, Yvette Clark. 6, Terry Sewell. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13 women, 14, 15, 16 black women, counting Ilya Omar, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Now this is 4 across. I just counted 30 members. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 times 6 is 60. I counted 30. You're parsing in terms of black congressional members. You're talking about a difference of maybe 1 or 2. In terms of that is a moot point. It is immaterial to the discussion, and that's why it's so infuriating. Because when you don't have proper journalism, a proper journalist would say, "Hey guys, listen. You're talking about a number of senators in the order of 1 or 2, which is going to change very quickly because, I mean, come on. I mean, we are in an election year, and you have every 2 years you have not congressional, you have House of Representative elections. So, I mean, if you're talking about 90 black men to like 14 black women, you got a point. But if you're talking 31 to 30, that is such a straw man argument. It's, oh my gosh, it gets my heart rate going, because it's not an intellectual point. The point should be black men are looking for something in this election. What can we do for black men so that black men continue to contribute to our cause? And instead you just get the finger wagging.
And then, so I start walking these things through, and what I say to brothers is, okay, you're responding to recent history because they've been frozen out. 1972, Shirley Chisholm did not go to the black political convention in Gary, Indiana, because the black men there were clear they weren't going to support her for president. So I think what we have to do is we as black men have to have some real conversations to brothers as well, to say, if you're responding to certain things you're seeing, now ask, why am I seeing that? Because you're also correcting what are historical realities of folks being frozen out. And so,
okay, so he's talking about frozen out, huh? So I'm going to show you about what frozen out looks like. This is what frozen out looks like when you look at college statistics. There is no other group of people on this planet as a political voting bloc that would allow their college enrollment to look like this. They would not allow 2 women for every 1 man in college. That would be a national call to arms in terms of what we have to do to aid the black community, and specifically young black boys. If you watch the story of Ben Carson is a really good story, even though his politics are not, his politics are what they are. If you look at the story of Ben Carson, it basically took a miracle to find that this genius surgeon could get through the school system, because it basically took a mom in a specific situation really caring. Otherwise, you get relegated to not even having a chance to go to college. So Roland Martin is making this argument that is non-existent. What are you looking at? You're looking at 26% of students at HBCUs are black men. There are as many non-black people on HBCU campuses as black men. He says, look around. That's what you look around at. That is it in a nutshell. I am old enough to remember proper journalism. And if he did this 30 years ago, there would be a Les Brown. There would be, Tony Brown. There would be a variety. Heck, you would have the dude that just went in on Barack Obama. My bad, I'm forgetting it. Tavis Smiley. He could not go to the State of the Black Union and do this kind of talking point because people in the trenches, in the schools, in the churches understand that when that young black boy turns 7, 8 years old and he's having trouble reading, he's got maybe a year or two window for someone to swoop in and say, hey, listen, I'm going to help you learn how to read. Or otherwise, he's going to get flooded into all the things that wash guys, black men specifically, in a certain different direction. I mean, look, I can say unequivocally that I am where I am specifically because of my father. My father made sure that I had my timetables down in the second grade. And if you're growing up in a situation where, hey, I don't need no man, or I'm keeping the father away from the kids because I can, these boys are falling through the cracks, and you can see it. And Roland Martin does not want to play that. He does not want to have that conversation with people that know better.
So that to me is a problem, because also if I started naming who are your top black Democratic leaders, Hakeem Jeffries, minority leader, man. Jim Clyburn, man. Jamie Harrison, head of the DNC, man. I mean, we could just start naming folks. And that to me, again, I think what has to happen, there has to be the constant pushback. Because if we don't force these brothers to have to answer that, I get feelings, I get perceptions, but I want to get down to, no, let me get to the core. What is your fundamental issue? And I think part of the problem with this conversation, I'm going to come to you, then I'm going to come to you, is that we are not pushing them to have to answer that central question. We are allowing emotions and perceptions and kind of stuff, what I heard, to rule that's not rooted in reality.
Sure.
Okay, so this is, you look at the state of the black community and you're making an argument. Why? What is your argument for needing help, black men? Make your argument. Just look at it. Look at the community. Look at the churches. Look at the schools. Look at the marriage rate. This is why when people start talking about politics and they start doing the finger wagging, I have seen this deteriorate over a period of 20 some odd years in my voting life, where in the 90s, when I started voting, it was okay. The Democrats look like they care about what's going on in the community. Okay, great. I'm going to vote Democrat. Then it goes from that to, okay, we care about people getting married and we care about reproductive health. And okay, well, but boys in the black community are struggling. And then it's it's all of this stuff. And if you have your eyes open in the black community, as a black man, you see what the reality on the ground is. And this guy is sitting here trying to make an argument that, hey guys, I don't know what you're complaining about. And it's so infuriating. People are going to say you're overseas, you shouldn't care, blah, blah, blah. I am American. I vote still here. So yes, I care about the American political process because I'm American, and any kids I have overseas are going to be Americans, and they're going to be black Americans. So that's that. He's making an argument that, what are you complaining about black men? And if you have an issue, what about black women? And it's been this perpetual cycle for 3 decades. And that's why he is no longer relevant.
So I wholeheartedly agree with that. But I do also want to kind of go back to understanding the nature of the black male socialization process, right? So we go back to, black men, one, we're not allowed to emote. We're expected to have it all. and we're expected to perform. The way we engage in society, the way we feel validated and love society is based on performance, right? So, and the only way we're allowed to emote that is valid is through anger or through kind of sexual prowess, right? Especially growing up young, especially growing up here in Philly, right? That leads you to negative consequences, right? So if you get led on that path to negative consequences, you don't have folks that give you the right tools, organizations like yourself, where folks can actually have social support and all these other things that lead you to those specific negative consequences, was that jail or in a grave or anything else, right? So those things, and then also, okay, so say you make it past there, middle school, high school.
Oh, this is painful. What is he talking about emotions for? I'm not talking about emotions. Come on, man. Come on, dude. Black boys can't read in the 3rd grade, okay? Like, black boys are going to jail more than any other demographic. Come on. You can't spit that out. Like, it's almost like you planted these guys here. What are you talking about emoting? Like, nobody cares about men's emotions. We already get that. Oh, it's infuriating.
School, you get to college, right? You get to college, as a black man, you expect to have money. As a black man, again, you're expected to perform. You're in college. Where you getting money from, right? Where you getting necessarily these things? So I think the nature of the experience, again, is really understanding the pressures of performance without support that black men go through, and not to say that black women don't go through as well, that aren't necessarily immediately tied to the larger political process if folks aren't having those continued conversations. So us here on the Mayor's Council for African American Males, we have those conversations in those communities, and Ryan is on that commission as well.
But what you're seeing though in the data though, what you're seeing is you're seeing millennial and Gen Z men becoming far more conservative than their female counterparts. And so there's a reason, Ryan, why Donald Trump, actually coming to you next, then Ryan. There's a reason why Trump is specifically going to these millennial Gen Z podcasters. Because what you have is Fox News, Stephen Miller's of the world, Jesse Waters of the world, Josh Hawley, senator from Missouri, they are on this whole manhood. So what they're doing is they are talking about that we're becoming a feminine nation. And so what they're doing, they're pushing the buttons of a lot of these young men. Oh, you're soft, and then now they're appealing to them that way. These gender dynamics are playing. And so political folks are looking at this by saying, wait a minute, what's going on here in terms of why these younger men, not just black, are appealing? Because Trump is presenting himself as this strong, tough, rugged, John Wayne type person. And I get all of that, but I'm sitting here going, keep in mind, John Wayne, ain't got nothing for you beyond his attitude and persona. So if you want to vote for persona, I get it, but
see, I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of the people that are getting onto the internet and pointing the finger at black men and saying, you guys don't know who you're voting for, you're not voting for your interests, they're a decade, 2 decades too late, especially in the social media era, because he's saying basically there's nothing for you over there. Okay, who said that I have to vote over there? There are some people that are voting over there. There's some people that are voting green, some people voting libertarian, and there are some people voting for the couch. If they're going to get up and say, we're about gay marriage and women having the right reproductive freedom, okay, that has absolutely nothing to do with me as a straight black man. Do you have something for straight black men? Well, they're going to take these things away. Again, let's try this again. Straight black men want either a better economy or better housing situation or a revision in family law or something. What do you have? Well, they're going to be blah, 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 and they're going to be dictators. This is why he's a dinosaur. We're looking at a political dinosaur. And when someone like Roland Martin speaks, I can't even hear the man, because I know that he doesn't have an agenda that's specifically pointing towards what black men are looking for. Because quite simply put, look, he is not trying to hear what black men have to say. He's not trying to hear it. And so you're going to run on the hamster wheel longer, and you're going to wonder why guys are getting off the hamster wheel. And it's quite simply put, if I'm not even a Donald Trump guy, okay? But if Donald Trump is going to improve the economy and he's going to help family law, then I'll take it. Like if you go to the supermarket and you want to get some apples, but the pineapple's on sale, okay, well, I'll buy some pineapple. That's cool. I mean, as opposed to going to a store and say, you're supposed to buy it because you black owned. It's like, well, come on. You got to offer something that's of value to me. And he refuses to do it. And he's a political dinosaur. Let
me let you know what's behind that persona, and then you can be like, oh my God, what did I do? Now it's too late.
You know, Roland, I want to go way back. Like, we women just got the right to vote not that long ago.
It goes right back to that. Oh, it is always this. Women are the ones that need the help. Oh my goodness. I am so glad that I made it on this side of it, because if I were a young guy in this situation, I would just not, I would not do anything to support continuing to do this, because you look at the prison population, you look at reading statistics, you look at people suspended from school. We know that black boys are suffering. And you can't get someone to walk to the political parties and say, we need something for black boys. This is my son. This is my brother. This is my uncle, my niece. He needs help. What do you guys have for him? And it goes back to, well, we're more oppressed than you guys are. And it's like, oh, I'm not even arguing that black women aren't oppressed. I would argue that they are oppressed. But we can't look at it and say, well, we're more oppressed, so we need more. Because it's just, guys are walking away from that, man. Guys are not trying to hear that.
Right? And what's been happening, which I feel like you're alluding to, is that there has been the destruction and the severing of black men and women for years. That is not of our own doing. But just because we didn't do it and we didn't deserve it, doesn't mean it's not on us to fix it. Slavery separated black men and women. It separated our families. Lynching, Jim Crow, all the way up to the welfare program, where women had children by men who could not live in the house with their babies.
And let's be clear, that also was not designed for black people. That was designed for white women.
Doesn't matter what
that was not designed for us.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but we certainly got benefit from it.
Right.
And so you said something last night about these issues for black men, which I love black men. And I believe that black men love us back as black women. 44,000 showed up when Biden dropped out of the race, and then 55,000 men showed up the next day saying we got to take care of our sister.
Right, but
what happened?
But
there's the but.
The sisters show up every week.
Absolutely. I understand, because
I lead the black men call.
I'm not in that meeting.
No, I am.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I'm sitting here going, where y'all at? So what happens is, again, what you're talking about, we've created the space. But one thing that brothers do, and they gotta own it, brothers don't keep showing up. The sisters keep showing up, stay organized, stay mobilized, and I know all the sisters on that call. That's the regiment. They got to run a show. They raise money, do all that sort of stuff like that.
SYSBM is there for a reason, because this is a hamster wheel. You can't, these are the same people. They have boys at home that are not reading at grade level. Their boys are not doing advanced level STEM in math. and they're looking at the political parties. They're showing up on these calls, contributing to a system that is grinding their boys into dust. There's a reason why I support Dr. T. Johnson, because I know that for a black boy like I was to get to the other side, especially if you're going to do something like STEM, it takes almost, I wouldn't say a miracle, but you got to have some angels looking out for you. You got to have some parents, some teachers, somebody in your corner, because the system that we are in is not going to say, hey, look, this black boy has some positive tendencies in terms of being a good math student, but he can't sit still. So instead of putting him in timeout, let me craft a special kind of program so that I can make sure he's not left behind. We don't get that. And why are men not showing up in the call? It's because men have lived through this cycle of, okay, when I needed help, everyone looked at me and said, you're a man, got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And how long? Political dinosaur.
And so that's why I tell brothers, you can't be hyped for the moment, because keep in mind, next week is the 29th anniversary of the Million Man March. Next week.
Yeah.
October 16th. So that's also part of the deal. Cats can't say, I want to be heard. Okay, we here every Sunday. Where you at?
I think that's the consistency that you're talking about, but you also have to deal with the survival that's happening on the ground and speak to that so that they will show up. One thing I wanted to say about this black maternal health issue, you cannot talk about maternal health if you do not talk about paternal health. It goes.
We're talking about paternal health, right? Like, this conversation started out with, what do black men want from the political establishment or the Democratic Party in this election? That's where the conversation started. And it comes to maternal health. It comes to how many people are in the Congressional Black Caucus. It's just deflection tactic. It's like this Jedi deflecting laser blasts. Like, black boys need something. We're asking for something. Why are you asking for it, Negro? I mean, you can see the gray hairs on my beard. I've seen this go for several times in several election cycles, and I can understand why young boys, I can see why young boys want to walk away from this, because if you could get a Latino woman that will love you, have 2 kids for you, and not drag you through the family court, that's more than what a group of hardworking, even if they're blue collar dudes that didn't have a chance to go to college because that was just, they didn't have the opportunity set in front of them. They'll take that over this pandering and this hope, whatever they're given, because black men need something. Yeah, but what about maternal health? I mean, come on.
Goes hand in hand. And what we're trying to do is divide these issues, but it's a collective issue. And we have to have, you talked about conversations, right? Community conversations. They need to be courageous conversations. We need to be honest with ourselves, and we need to be honest with each other so that we can make a difference. Ultimately, 28 days, and no matter what happens,
right,
we're going to have to deal with the fallout of it.
But here's why I don't believe you have to have it. And just be clear, I'm clear. And then Rebecca and Derek, hold on, I'm coming to y'all. I'm going to Ryan, then I'm going to bring them up. Here's why I don't have to have a paternal health conversation when I'm having a black maternal health conversation. Because the black maternal health conversation is a specific conversation that actually involves paternal as well, because they birthing boys.
That's right. So,
but the problem is, when the vice president is talking about black maternal health, brothers are like, that ain't me. That is you.
54% of black men are single and childless. Half of the black male population does not have to worry about this conversation. We've heard, as a matter of fact, I would venture to say it can't be 54% now, because Kevin Samuels has not been with us for almost 2 years. It's probably almost 60% now, maybe even over 60%. If you're not a father with a black woman, or better yet, you know someone that has, one dude has kids with 7 women, he is invested in this conversation. But guys that don't have kids yet are not. But hey, all black men are deadbeats, right?
That is you.
Because one, they got pregnant somehow.
Yes.
That's just biology. That was not, ain't a bunch of Marys out there in immaculate conceptions. It's just not. It's not. It's just not. It's just not. But again, that's a perfect example, Ryan, though, of an issue that I've heard brothers define as, oh, she talking to sisters. No, that's actually our issue too. So I don't always have to have somebody say brothers to know that's also involving me. Go ahead.
So, address your earlier point. I haven't really heard that many brothers hating on sisters. I don't hear that. The primary concern that I've been hearing from black males is, how am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to provide for my family? If I have a small business and I got the T's dotted, the T's crossed and the I's dotted, and I can't get access to capital, how am I going to get access to capital?
And then the response is, of Trump's 4 years and Biden-Harris 4 years, who's actually provided more access to capital for black-owned businesses?
Right. And I think to that point,
Biden-Harris,
there's a lot of misinformation being spread. Or not enough information being funneled through the black community,
right,
to where they'll know that.
I'm not saying that he is 100% wrong here. We could parse the numbers. Everyone understands you could use numbers one way or the other to make your political point. But if he's going to sit there and pretend as if there are people that are either in business or trying to go into business as black male entrepreneurs and can't notice a difference in the environment they're seeing in the two presidencies, then he's at best being disingenuous, if not trying to cast a certain way of looking at the situation on the guys that are living in it. But all of that said, guys understand when it's easy to build a business, when it's easy to get capital, who you can get it from, where the funds are allocated to, and all of these things. And if they're not earmarked for black men, then black men can say, hey, listen, we want to go somewhere where at least we can get a better economy, if not specific stuff for me as a business, because I'm a straight black man. Where's the money at? Because we know that there's all kinds of scholarship, all that other stuff. Okay, it is what it is. But if black men want to make that issue known, you can't turn around and say, well, yeah, but what about? And that's essentially exactly what Roland Martin's doing here.
Well, that's why they also need to watch my show every day, because we provide the information.
Right.
So, but again, you're right. So again,
but a lot of the time, platforms like yours, we cater to people like everybody in this room who are in tune with this type of stuff.
No.
But we don't.
No. We talk to everybody.
On the people.
No. We talk to everybody. Whoever shows up, shows up.
But that's the point.
It's a self-selection process.
These people in the communities, they're not worried about this. They're worried about surviving. They're in survival mode.
But here's the point I'm making here. When we talk about I'm in survival mode, but then I need information, I need access. Information provides you where to get the access. I'm going back to at some point, whenever we have these conversations, I got to put the onus on the other person to do some work. And so what happens is when I'm out talking to folks, it happens all the time. Brothers like, man, I got this idea, but I ain't getting no help. Who did you call? Well, what do you mean? Who did you call? Who did you reach out to? Call? And so then when I asked that third and fourth question, say, man, why? No. Don't see. I tell everybody, don't come to me with a problem and not expect me to hit you with some questions. So what happens is we've got to make the other person got to do some work. And
you hear that, black men? Y'all got to do some more work. I'm not good at the super chats. I appreciate the guys giving me super chats. I'll go back and read them at the end. But he's just, I think one of the things that happens to people that don't have an ability to be conscientious and reevaluate their position is you don't understand how out of date you are unless you're around people. If Roland Martin had a couple of 20-year-old black dudes that he was talking to on the I'm sorry, let me rephrase. Straight, like heterosexual, cisgendered, black men that were college or headed to college, he would get a better understanding of the landscape where he's dropping this thing where if you want X, Y, and Z, you should ask for it. Did you ask for it? Because those guys will tell him like, hey, listen, I look here, here, and here. And this is what I see. But he's not responding to that. He's just saying, oh, you just didn't try hard enough. And if that's the case, just give black men a better economy and we'll figure it out for ourselves. Because this answer is old.
So we've got to, again, when we have these discussions, we got to push folks to say, I need you to do some stuff too. It can't be you come to me with 99% of the energy and I'm just going to sit here and wait on you. That simply cannot happen. And so when I'm challenging folks on this, that's when folk get real nervous because now I'm making them do some work. So
now, this gentleman on the far right, he specifically said guys are looking for capital. They want capital to start business. What Roland Martin should have said is there's this initiative for black men that are looking for capital. There's this initiative. There's this initiative. Have you talked to this group, this nonprofit? He didn't list anything. He said, did you try? Like, that's not a specific. And if you're not going to answer specific, you're pointing the finger at guys saying, okay, come on guys, buck up now. And dude, people are too smart for that. They're too smart for it. He should have rattled off 2 or 3 specific organizations already.
Our deal has to be, okay, if you want this, call this person or go here. I purposely don't carry business cards anymore. You know why? Because 99.9% of the people never email. So why am I walking around with some cards handing out and you don't even use it? It happens all the time. I did a master class at Clark, Atlanta. This is a college campus. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. I did a master class at Clark, Atlanta 2 weeks ago. In a 2.5-hour discussion, I talked about relationship building, networking, how I connected with people, how I advanced. When it was over, they walked to the front, asked for a selfie, and then left. By the 5th person I went, did any of y'all listen to the whole thing? Like, not one person said, can I get your contact information? And I literally stood there and I went, I know I just said all this sort of stuff. That also,
I'm not going to go too much longer. I won't stop it there. But one thing you got to remember, Clark, Atlanta, if it follows the trends, out of the people that listen to his conversation, 3 out of every 4 of them were black women. So again, he's kind of going back and forth because if the black women were saying we want to take selfies because you're famous, that's an argument for something else. But black men specifically are looking for something in the election that you can't offer to them. Guys are going to go somewhere else. So I want to make this too long, but I want to go back and shout out the guys that super chatted. I'm not too good at multitasking, so salute to Rich Turner, appreciate you. Salute to Azrael, first of his name. Salute to Techie Noir. Thank you for the super chat. Salute to Ninja Person, teacher, or actually he's the TA. Salute to the teaching assistant, Ninja Person. Fude Song Cole. Salute for real the last time the Congressional Black Caucus did anything. Oh, actually, I can highlight, can I? I can highlight, can I? I don't think I can. Okay, we'll get back. He said the last time the Congressional Black Caucus did anything of substance was in the 80s fighting apartheid. I actually agree with that. Ghetto user salute. Thank you for the super chat. Rich Turner, my man. Salute. Any group of men pushing is women to the forefront or compromise and cowardice even. The blue old dudes got to go. Yeah, look, man, I'm in this country, Japan. Look, they are building strong boys. It's not to say that the girls have to sacrifice, but they are going to make sure they got some strong boys in this country. Salute to Anubis. I appreciate that. Salute to Rugby Jesus, my man. So thanks to everyone for the super the International Quiet Storm. Salute. Make sure you do that Terraform destroy because that AW is very expensive. But I wanted to respond to this, and I'm not going to go on much of a rant, but when I look at things from a third point, from the position I'm at where I'm here, I can see a society where when a boy falls down a little bit early, they have a whole system that's ready to pick those boys up and make sure that boy, and I've seen it so many times, boy who's struggling in elementary school, struggling in junior high school, gets back on his feet, goes to college and becomes a leader of the community. Instead, we have this system where basically it's if you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you're not a man. But when you do pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you owe the community that did not help you pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you're pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. I'm not saying that's all black men. There are some black men getting help. That's what I'm saying. But the lived experience of a growing number of black men is saying, hey guys, listen, I am in a situation where I'm trying to have a stable family. I'm trying to be a stand-up guy. I pay my taxes. I do everything by the book, but I'm getting told I'm dusty because I'm not making $300,000 a year driving a Mercedes or whatever. Or you're getting told, well, you make $65,000. You should pay for everything, or else, you're not a real man. And 50-50 is for little boys when $65,000 is the top 1% of world earners. And it's just this house of mirrors where if you don't get out of that house of mirrors, you're going to start looking at yourself and questioning yourself and thinking, is there something wrong with me? And the reason why I think this space is growing, and I'll say a big salute to all the guys that had to put up an avatar that wasn't their real identity so that I could put up my face on the internet and not have to worry about the things that they had to worry about a decade ago, have been talking about. The lived experience of black men is a very special one. And if you can't, in a political election year where it's clear black men are saying, hey, listen, we want something from this election period, and you can't do anything more than drag out people that can, I don't know, say you need to vote for her because we're black, or you're going to wag the finger at black men and say you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z because you don't stand with the sisters. If Kamala Harris came out tomorrow, or should I say, if she came out at the beginning of her campaign and said, look, Barack Obama wanted to do some things specifically for black boys. They're the most maligned group of people in the country in terms of education and the judicial system. I think it is pertinent for me to do something for those boys, but don't worry, it's not going to be my full agenda, but that group of people specifically, we got to do something for them. Or better yet, have someone that's underneath her, adjacent to her, release that as a press release and say, look, black men, we haven't forgot you guys. We haven't forgot you guys. This is not, salute Jules, this is not sake, man. This is just me being a man in my late 40s, and I'm seeing the same circle and I'm tired of it. I mean, you got to bring something to the table. We have too much information on social media. We got too many women on social media telling black boys, if you ain't got 175,000, don't even holler at me. If you can't pay for everything, and these are young girls, you click on their link tree and they got link trees to online spicy content because basically they can monetize themselves from the time that they're 18, where a black man has to go out and make it happen with his two hands. And you grow up in this society and boys are just like, hey man, I'm not playing the game. And guys like Roland Martin are trying to wag the finger of shame. And after 2-3 decades of this, it's not going to work anymore. It just doesn't work. I mean, I'll say this in closing. I really appreciate the group that I really appreciate Theo. I appreciate Theo for a lot of reasons, but I really appreciate him because there is a safe space for us to talk about stuff that we can't really talk about in the public space. And when you want to hear, black men speak candidly and unabashed about their situations, you start hearing ear to the ground stories of why someone like Roland Martin coming on this platform, waving his finger at black men saying, hey, you're supposed to toe the line. Toe the line for what? That's the issue. No one is come to the ground, listen to black men. Hey, why aren't you vote for it's not even not voting for Kamala Harris. It's not voting for the Democratic Party. Really is because we've been through this already. We've been through it. You got to offer us something, just like you fly across the city, the country, and say these steel workers or these people in Minnesota or Michigan or these people that are bricklayers, whatever. You got to say, hey, black men, we know that this country was basically built by you guys working for free for 400 years. We didn't do right by your ancestors, so some of the lingering effects of our policies are the reason why you are not represented accurately in college. So we're going to do some specific things for you. And if you can't offer that, at least offer a better economy or cheaper housing. And if you're not going to offer that, then what? You're not really offering anything else. And so I appreciate Theo. I appreciate guys that are speaking up, because I think what is clear, and then this is the thing where I have to credit BGS on. We are the literal canary in the coal mine. And I've seen it. I can tell you I've seen it here in the country I'm in, where if you are an average working guy, there's a balance in certain parts of the world versus others where you're going to be respected for being a hardworking guy that's average earning, or you're going to be looked down upon because you don't make what elite men make. And I can tell you, in some parts of the world, you can't get away with that. If a man is waking up and with his two bare hands is going out into the world and making it happen, that's attractive enough for a woman to say, I will marry you and have some kids for you. Now, there are other parts of the world where a woman can look at you and say, well, I make more than you. You need to get on my level in order for me to consider marrying you. And if you want to play that game, you can play it. But then you get guys getting passports. And there's that whole thingy, which kind of undermines that whole, you got to level up, because if you're making $65,000 a year, you are in the top 1% of earners on the planet. And if you're making $100,000 a year in America, you can you basically have to have a very specific reason to marry in America, because otherwise you don't have to. But all of that to say, there's, in this election season, they have a huge blind spot. They don't see it. They're not sitting down to 25, 30-year-old black men that graduated college or working a trade job and asking about the dating market, asking what it's like to go dating on a dating app, asking what it's like in the work environment where he's afraid to make jokes, or all of the list of things that are the landmines around men in this society, and specifically black men. Talk to those guys and say, hey guys, what do you need from us in this election? Nobody's doing that. And then guys are walking away and they're walking to Trump. Trump, you can vote for Trump if you want to. They're voting for the couch, which is kind of where I am right now. You can vote third party. They're just saying, we can't do this. We watch Gen Xers do this and we're not doing that. We are not doing that. And I don't blame them. So anyways, salute to everyone. Salute to Red Pill Sleeper Cell. I know that AB Media is going to be up later, so I want to make room for him, but appreciate you guys for stopping through. And I am going to put this video in the link. I don't suggest you really hound Roland Martin, but he's a political dinosaur, and I think if you look at his numbers, you know it. He can see that his relevance is waning. As a matter of fact, the relevance of a lot of the traditional platforms that we grew up with, CNN's relevance is waning, like MSNBC's is waning. Was it Wall Street? Not Wall Street Journal. New York Times political relevance is waning because people under 40 they're not reading it. They're not watching that. They're watching, but I can tell you they watched the Joe Rogan interview. And if you're not going to go talk to Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan's going to call you out on it, even though he's not as, as red or blacked as we might be, he's still going to push back. And if you're not going to engage guys where they are, you're going to lose them. And that's the blind spot that Roland Martin has. And that's why Roland Martin is getting increasingly more sharp with his language. Oh, yeah, absolutely, AB. I hope you do cover it. He's getting more sharp with his language because he knows that he only has one thing in the playbook. So I would say black men, the most valuable thing that black men can do is be individually thinking black men who are not afraid to challenge your belief system, because I can say that my belief system has flipped over maybe 3 or 4 times in the 10 years that I've been just watching, the last 10 years of my life, from religion to politics to dating and mating, all of it. Don't be afraid to challenge your individual beliefs, because if you think you have it all figured out and you're not 90 years old, you probably don't have it all figured out. But I think that Roland Martin is a symbol of black, or not even black, but a waning voice that is looking for relevance. and they're trying to do anything they can to hold into the relevance. And there's nothing that will get you more relevance or more positive reaction than to beat down on black men and say, what are y'all whining about? And I'm sure that the guys in this chat have had enough of it. So that said, I'll catch you in the next video, and stay up. I need a out sign. Besides, thanks for watching, like, subscribe. But seize the day, gentlemen. Today is a day that you can do something with your day. So read a book, do some coding, spend some time doing something that's going to help you in the future. Because Malcolm X, education is our passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. So black men, spend some time with a book, spend some time with your computer, not looking at social media, and be a better man, so that when black men get our position to call some shots, we're going to have some standards to go along with it. That said, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Holla at you guys.